secrets you found to mitigate?
Yeah, I just fired it up too, Joel.
I saw. Thank you.
Welcome to Practical Shooting After Dark. On deck today, of course, Mr. Joel Park, because
Hello, everyone.
he's our sure thing on this show. And coming at us from Canadian Nationals, Juancic and Burdett.
Hello.
What's up, guys? And Jeff. Jeff is here too.
Well, kind of. All right, guys. Was it your work day today at Nationals?
Yes, it was a long work day.
Patching, no patch guns.
Yeah, you didn't have guns though. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, no, patching like peasants.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
All right. So before we get into the topics, explain to people what a work day is, because I expect most listeners have not been to a match that has a work day.
Yeah, so actually in Canada especially, I know it's probably a cultural thing, but when we run matches, so we'll have like volunteering. We don't have like dedicated, we'll have dedicated like ROs and CROs for the stages. They do the pre-match, but everyone else, any patchers, resetters, they get assigned a work day. So it's part of participating to the national championship. So for me, for example, like us today, we were working today as patching, helping, so the shooters don't have to patch while they shoot. And tomorrow we're shooting half a day, and we get a day off, and we're shooting another half day. So it's just everybody will be shooting 2 half days, having a day off somewhere, and be working on a range full day. That's just how to keep things smooth, and it avoids the shooters to be patching while they shoot during the week.
So,
But it's a 4-day match.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Oh, how many
With-
stages?
16. So you shoot 8 stages in half a day, and another half a day, another 8 stages. They basically do it as a 4 days to accommodate for more shooters.
Yeah. How many people are attending?
About 400, I think, which is one of the biggest nationals probably they've held. That many people. Usually it's about like 300, 350. So,
All right.
yeah. I mean, it works.
Yeah, I mean, I've
you
done
do
the
work.
workday deal. I like it.
So, like for me, I'm not familiar with the situation. So you have 4 days for the match, and then you travel 1 day on each side. So you're tying up 6 days
Yeah.
to go to the match then.
Yeah. Registrations was on Tuesday at the same time as people were doing the pre-match. So if you're doing like pre-match, you're ROing, like you're talking about a full week.
Would you explain what the pre-match is? I'm sure
Well,
some people wouldn't be
Yeah,
familiar.
so pre-match is for everything like RO staff that will be working the match. They do the pre-match. So usually they debug the stages at the same time sometimes. So yeah, on the usually just before the match starts, the main match, they'll do the pre-match, just run mostly the people that will be running the match later on this week.
It's like a staff day.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Totally. Sometimes you get like sponsored sponsor shooters and stuff. Like the sponsors of the match will shoot the pre-match as well. That will happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. They'd be like available for the vendor area type of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And on Sunday, actually, the match finishes on Saturday, and on Sunday it's either like rain day, so they keep like a little space for any reshoot that could happen because of rain or bad weather, or otherwise it's going to be a shoot off, and there's going to be the award ceremony, banquet, and everything on Sunday night, where you get to dress up. They have like prizes, and just like USPSA Nationals actually this year.
Well, but USPSA National people don't.
Yeah, no. I mean, you can dress up. You can put a suit on, but you can also just put your jersey
But one
on.
question: is flip flop allowed?
Of course.
Flip flop allowed?
No, maybe not.
No, in IPSC there's a rule, isn't it?
Yeah, they're gonna
No,
be
only
like,
for level 4 matches
yeah,
though.
Oh, okay.
they're
I
gonna
would
be
know.
like,
I got that rule in, so
Yeah.
I've
welcome.
heard the story.
they're probably just gonna be like dressed like preppy, like urban, like accordingly. Like use your judgment.
All right. Well, since you guys are already on the topic, tell us about the match, the stages and whatnot.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Kim.
Well, I haven't shot it, but I watched people shooting, of course, and worked. And there are something very interesting. I've never shot a range that the backstop is basically almost non-existent. So at this range, the backstop is basically a mountain that's miles away, maybe, I don't know, tens of miles probably.
Oh, it's far.
Very far.
It's just a big land.
Yes.
So it's a military base, and it's not usually a range for pistols or shooting. It's a range for like airstrikes and artillery.
Oh wow.
They use that to just bomb that area. And so there's road and stuff, and you see like there's no backstop. It's just a big surface, and but it's infinity. Like it's just that's like a zone where no one goes. So they just build a range there. They use sea cans to like put like bays and delineate just yeah put like stages. Okay, so that bay one, bay two, bay three, and that's it. They just build a temporary range to accommodate like the stages for the match because in Canada ranges are like having big ranges is an issue. Like we don't have like Florida or Utah to host like big matches. So sometimes we have to do little tricks like that. And it worked out pretty good. The scene is actually pretty interesting to see. Like you're just shooting and you're shooting at like nothing. So
Yeah, there's
it's
nothing behind.
Wow. That's
yeah,
kind of interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's doesn't matter when you shoot, but it sure
But,
looks funky.
Yeah,
Like,
in terms of the
Yeah, well, you're not used to
stage
seeing that.
design, the downside is, so since there's no back berm and no separation between the bays, you cannot go deeper than certain. There's a back berm line. It's really short. It's like 15 meters each bay. Every single bay is basically having that 15 meters deep, which you can't have any far shots. Maybe 20 meters. So there's nothing really far, but they used miniature targets and like interesting movers, like they call it drunken swinger. So they kept the stages interesting, but everything else, I mean, everything is close. But they're using props and like mini targets to make the shot difficulty pretty interesting.
So you're satisfied with the stages and everything?
I've only saw 8 stages, so it's a two separate range. So I don't know what's going on the other side, but so far the first 8 was pretty okay.
Is that it's about what you shoot matches at that range a lot, right, Alex? Or once a year? Do they have a match there?
yeah. But it's usually at a proper range with regular bays. It's just that they only have 3 bays. So for a
Yeah.
national, it's not enough. But yeah, I shoot there a lot, and I know the stage designers and stuff. So I know they were limited with the C can being like only 2 C cans long. So that's why they got like they had to like shorten everything because they had a plan of being like much bigger stages and much more technical, and everything is closer than they were probably expecting, which it turns out to be, I think, from what they have is really okay. It's like turns out to be pretty challenging, and people are actually underestimating the stage's difficulties,
Oh yes,
and they got fucked.
yes, a lot of
Like,
penalties I saw.
oh yeah, so
It's not that it's difficult shot. It's just that they're deceptively tough. They
yeah,
make you
yeah.
go fast, but there's like mixture of tougher shot.
Yeah.
Well, so I think they did a good job considering what they had. Like definitely. That I can't complain.
So is this a match that you guys can't walk the stages ahead of time? Is that correct?
Pretty
Yes.
much, yeah.
That's what I
So
heard.
are you at an advantage then by like being the worker guy today where you're actually getting to see the stages then? You're walking on the stage. You might not be air gunning them, but is that an
Oh,
advantage
well,
then?
you don't walk the shooting area, you just patch. But honestly, like when you get used to that, of like that habit of not walking the stage and just walking on your walkthrough, you can go and see the other shooters, what they do, like what strategy they do. So that gives you an idea of like where you'll be looking when you walk the stage. But honestly, like it's pretty straightforward. Like there's no memory stages or like anything that like trying to fuck you up by seeing like a target like from multiple positions and like so there's nothing like crazy like that. So you don't actually need to walk the stages and like try to figure out like the puzzle. It's
Like,
just it's straightforward.
Okay, that makes sense.
it's
Yeah.
like if
Okay.
you go left to right or right to left, that's it.
Okay.
After that, you'll get plenty of time with that 4 or 5 minutes walkthrough to figure it out. Like
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's really annoying when they hide targets on stages where you get like 3 minutes to look at it.
And
That's
you
really
can't
annoying.
drive to the range. You have to go to a golf course parking lot, and then they're gonna bus you to the range, which is like 30 minutes ride.
Really?
Yeah, you can't really go to the range the day before either because it's like the military zone where you have to be in the bus to go through or something.
yeah, but this is like a once, like it's an exception because of the logistic. They couldn't afford to have like too many cars driving around the base, so they had
I'm
to
sure
find
it's
a
a
way.
security concern. I'm sure. So
It is, yeah. It's not like this is like you have to come. They have to confirm. They have to like respect some rules from the military. So that was one of the requirements, and it works out okay. Like honestly, like today was good. The shuttle comes every hour and like drops people in, and like you can like move around the ranges like that. Uh, but
Yeah,
yeah,
the
so
the
yeah.
ride is fun. You get to watch like I don't know Apache or tanks or something like that on the
that'd be
road.
cool.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely a it's different experience for sure.
Yeah. Interesting.
So we're shooting tomorrow afternoon.
Yep.
So I guess we'll get to know more about the shooting experience. But so far so good.
All right. Well, let's get to the I guess the topics we planned on. Joel,
Yes.
what do you got?
Let's do your topic. So
No, we're doing your topic, Joel.
fine. So I'm going to talk about practice frequency. So that was another interesting experience I had when I came to train with Ben, where we were going out every day, and in some case, two a days. Well, for a lot of the days, two a days. I'd never done that before. And I thought it was pretty interesting. So, like now, I would say, let's say you shoot, I don't know, 1,200 rounds a week. So on maybe like weekends, on Saturday and Sunday, you go shoot 600 rounds each day. Thinking, hey, that's a heavier practice session. I'm shooting a lot. I would say I would get more out of going 4 days and just shooting 300 rounds. So going twice as many days, but shooting half the rounds, and I think that would be beneficial. So, it makes like the argument for why you dry fire every day because it's like it's not like you leave, you feel more warmed up, maybe you feel maybe more in tune with what's going on. So I would say it was interesting shooting every day or maybe just going to lunch, taking an hour off, and going back. Where maybe if I hadn't shot for a week, the gun would kick a little bit more than I remembered for the first, I don't know, maybe magazine or maybe 20 rounds, something like that. And you kind of get in the tune. But it's like, or for that, if you took an hour off or if you just shot that evening and then the next morning you're back at the range again, it kind of felt like I didn't miss a beat at all. It kind of just felt like maybe we took a long lunch or I guess I don't know how else to describe it, but um, I thought that was pretty interesting, and I could definitely see the argument for why now training up before a major match, why I would want to keep going every day or every other day, or increasing the frequency and not just training maybe really heavy on the weekends, but going more during the week.
So would you say like your skills stay more fresh?
I think that's a good way of saying it. Yeah, maybe I seem more sharp, where maybe there's not as much of a warm up.
It sure is a good way to keep it consistent.
Yeah,
It's just like when you're shooting like a big competition like World Shoot or Level 4, Europeans like you'll be shooting like 5 days, and it's like every day you start over again, but it's still the same match. So yeah, definitely. Like the only downside is if you need to set up and like pack up every time, it sucks because like you're going to the range and like you take like an hour to set up and break down for like 300 rounds. That's a downer for me. But it sure is like if you have just a quick setup, you go there, you work on your shit for like 300 rounds, you go back. It every time you're going, it's really good for just you're always ready to shoot no matter what. Like even if it's cold or nothing, just like you're good to go. That
Yeah,
definitely helps for consistency.
and especially I like just this like the standard practice setup where you have three targets, and you could do. I mean, you could do L pres, you could do crisscross, you could do doubles, do practical accuracy. I mean, there's like so many drills you could do with just three targets. So it's like very minimal setup, very minimal teardown. I'm not running around like use the brass shoot. Like I'm in and out of there in no time.
So Joel, this was, I mean, when you came and trained with me, that was your first time just going and shooting every day? Really?
I not shot that. We shot what 4 days in a row. I don't know that I've ever shot 4 days in a row. Maybe two. I mean, two or three would be about it, but never
Ah,
two a days. I have not done either. Maybe once or twice, but two a days were not something I've done very often.
hmm.
So, I mean, by the end of that, I felt a lot more tuned up, and maybe not necessarily that I'd made a huge jump in skill, um, but I just felt sharper the whole time. Maybe is a way of saying it. I mean, of course, you get better too, but
Yeah, well, think about it like this. Would you rather do 2 hours of dry fire one day a week or do, 20 minutes a day,
yeah,
5 days?
exactly.
Yeah.
In principle.
So
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, more frequent practice is super important, I think.
that was an eye opener. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So let's move on. What's next, Joel?
Your topic.
Oh yeah. So Joel wants me to talk about dealing with the elements or dealing with the what would you say? Temperature,
Yeah, heat and cold for sure.
heat and cold, and
I mean,
what were
rain,
the other ones?
everything
Actually,
else.
rain. Today
Rain, I
was pouring
suppose.
rain.
I saw that.
Okay, so man, where do you start with this? So the first thing is to check the weather before you go to a big match. Like, I mean, for me, I'll like the day before I fly there or something. I like to look at the weather to get an idea of what to expect, and then I bring anything that I think might help me. So that I like the disposable ponchos or rain
Hmm.
suits. Keeping one of those in your range bag is a really good idea because that can solve a lot of problems for you if you get caught in the rain. But if I'm going to a match and I'm think it looks like, oh, it's going to be super hot, then I can get more liquids, get more stuff, maybe get one of the cool packs, the cooling towels
Hmm.
if you like those, so you can prepare yourself ahead of time. And it's the same thing with cold temperature or rain. I mean, if I'll just check the weather the day before, and then I will tend to at a big match I tend to over prepare for what I'm expecting, so I prepare for the absolute worst. So it's not just it might rain, so I'm going to bring a poncho. It's like nope, I'm gonna steal like 4 towels from the hotel, so I have a bunch of extra towels. I'm going to have like the disposable poncho. I'm going to have plastic bags to put my range bag in. You know what I mean? I'll have way more stuff than I think I could possibly need. And it's the same if I think it's going to be really cold. Then I mean, if it's 30 degrees, I'll be dressed like it's minus 30.
I do that too.
Yeah. So it keeps my body really warm. So then I just take layers off when I shoot and then put them all back on again. So I think the thing for me is just to over prepare for the weather and to not like I am not shy about going to Walmart or something. If I'm away from home and I don't have I'll go to Walmart and buy anything I think would possibly help the night before the match and plan to use very little of it, but I'll just have it all.
What about hydrating? Like my game plan is always at least the day before or 2 days because hydrating the morning of does not seem to cut it. Do you have
No.
the same experience?
Yeah, so they say it's good to start hydrating the day before. So I guess I do that. But what's the rule? It's like one bottle of water every stage when it's hot out.
I do like two. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's a good minimum. It really is. And then I think the other thing that people don't really think about is kind of pacing themselves throughout a hot day, especially. Like I really like to pace myself with working. You know how the first half of the day everybody's really gung ho to run down there and pace, and then
Yep.
by the afternoon people start to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of reverse that. I'm like I take it like if everybody's really motivated in the morning, they're all running out there. Like I'll go out and pace targets, but I'm not gonna fight over targets to paste or anything. And then that kind of conserves it. So the afternoon when everyone's dragging, like I can still be out there, picking up steel and resetting stuff and kind of help out there. Cause it really sucks when everyone's just dead on a super hot
Yes.
day, but everyone's dead in the afternoon, man, that sucks. Oh,
Yeah. Plus, then you're dead for your shooting also. So
well, yeah, I mean, of course it sucks to be dead for your shooting, but
yes.
I would
yeah.
say same thing applies for eating and drinking, like pacing yourself. So, recently, like I've been every time I finish the stage, I'll take a bite of like protein bar or whatever, and a little bit of water, but just regularly. Just I finish stage, even if I'm like not hungry, you don't want to be hungry. It's just like, yep, finish the stage, taking a bite, drinking the water, and just keep going. But that topic has been covered like numerous times. But yeah, just it's so important to just keep eating and drinking throughout the whole
Yeah.
day. It
Yeah.
keeps just the mind awake and just like your focus is better. It's just
Yeah. Well, for sure, that definitely helps, and it's more important to pace yourself with the eating. I think during the hot days,
Mhm.
because your body should be spending its energy cooling itself, not digesting food. So it's like you don't want to intake a whole bunch of food all at once.
No, just little bits.
Just
One
a
thing
little.
changed for me was I got this like no sugar electrolyte packet from Amazon, super cheap. I just put it in water and drink them. It tends to keep me hydrated longer period of time better.
Yeah. Well, I like
Yeah.
those a lot. Or Gatorade Zero. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's Joel's new jam.
Yep. Indeed, it is. The lemon lime, in fact, is Ben's flavor. I have some here right now.
Yeah. So I guess I think the trick for weather conditions is to over prepare for them in terms of don't just bring what you think you need, you know, buy lots of stuff and have lots of stuff on hand. And if you go home with, if it's super cold and I end up taking off a couple layers and not using some hand warmers that I have and that type of stuff, that is totally fine.
Yeah.
That is far better.
Dude, I use hand warmers on like a 40-degree day just because when I go to shoot, I want my hands to be warm and not cold. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard thing for me to remember is obviously it gets very cold where I live, so shooting a match in 40 degrees is something I'm far more attentive to a 40-degree day where I'm shooting a match than I would be a minus 20-degree day where I'm not doing anything interesting. Because if I'm a little bit cold when it's minus 20, that's not a big deal, but I want my body to actually be warm, so then my extremities are still warm, so then I can grab my gun and use that. So I might even wear long underwear on a 40-degree day if I'm shooting a match. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Just to
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
my core temperature super high.
But yeah, for the Heat this year, man, there's been like some brutal matches. Or I went to the Free State match, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and it was hotter than Oklahoma or Free State or than Great Plains. It was extremely hot.
That's what you said. But to be honest with you, I think the really hard part about the Oklahoma and Great Plains doubleheader thing that we did was that it was 2 days like that back to back.
Yeah.
I remember when everyone showed up for the second match, they were just like, nope, like they were like, I'm not really feeling another day like this, but all right.
It was fun.
That's my shit at.
All right. You other knuckleheads have a topic or what? What's up?
Well, I have some airport experience, another airport experience.
Oh no, did they try to haul you to the clink again? Like to the jail?
Some not as drastic as like that, but so I flew off from Seattle to Toronto and in Toronto to Quebec. So I had to go through the customs in Quebec, Toronto. But then my connecting flight was like an hour and a half gap in between the arrival and
Ooh.
Yeah,
so
that's tight.
it was very tight. And my flight decided to leave an hour early. I mean, late, sorry, hour delayed. So there was no time I'm making it. So prior to departure, the lady gave me a new ticket and then went to Toronto. And then when I got there, the new flight was like an hour and a half again after I got there. And then I'm going through the customs. And then first, there was a lot of people in Toronto. And when I got to the immigration officer, he was like, hey, you need to claim your bag and go through the customs with your declaration. And I was like, okay. And then I was waiting about 20 minutes on the carousel and not seeing my bags. And I finally found out the sign, hey, United States connecting flights don't claim the bags. So I went to the baggage area, the agent over there, he was like, hey, I need to get my bag. I need to go through the customs with firearms. And then the guy was radioing, and then my bag was in the next flight, which was about to leave like in 40, 30 minutes. I mean, they located it, and there was a long wait. And then I finally got to the customs, and then they like look at the paper. The customs itself was okay, but then the problem was the airport. So I got out of that, and then the flight left. So I needed another airplane ticket. I waited like an hour wait on the freaking people because the computer broke. It was a long line. And then I finally got to the airport, the Air Canada booth. And then they were saying, oh, sorry, this is only for the flights to the US. So you have to go to domestic area, which was another 30 minutes waiting line. And then when I got there, the lady made me put the ammunition and the gun into two separate suitcases. And I told them, oh, it's a two separate container. I have a gun in different container, ammo in different container, but in one suitcase. So she was like, nope, you have to change that. And then I changed it. And then there's something happened on my boarding pass. So the lady was like, okay, we can't check you in over here. So you need to go to another aisle. And then now at the point, I'm like opening the suitcase again and then put the ammo back into the firearms case again and then put it back in. And then I finally got my boarding ticket. It was leaving in like 2 hours, so I dropped it at the oversized bag area because firearm has to go through over there. And then there was an officer uh, scanning my bag, and then he said, "Hey, there's an ammunition and the firearm in the suitcase." And, yeah, but it's in a two different container. And then he's like, "No, it has to be in a two separate suitcases." But I told him, hey, I already checked in other suitcases, so I don't have any suitcases left. So he called like the higher people and then they cleared me out. But people going to Toronto with firearms, be careful. They have different airport rules.
Oh man, I can, yeah, I can. I agree with that. Actually, I had one custom agent once telling me like, "You're going to Montreal, like, why are you stopping by Toronto? You should avoid stopping by Toronto." I'm like, "Well, I have no choice. That was the only flight option for me." Because when you get into Canada, they need to check the guns, the serial number, and you go through customs in Toronto, even though you're going somewhere else after. It's just a nightmare because like they need to pull off the luggage and it's a pain in the ass, like seriously.
So, Quantic, the real lesson here is have your connection be in the U.S. if possible. If possible.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Chicago, then Chicago, like Quebec or Montreal or wherever.
Yeah, so you're going to do customs at your final destination. That is typically easier, in my experience. Canada is really funny. I mean, I've walked up to, go to the red line and to declare a firearm in Canada, and I walk in there, like, yep, I'm here with a firearm, and they're like, okay, what is it? It's I've got a handgun here, and they're like, for whatever, and they said, who told you you could have this? It's like, I already have a license. It's okay, but I mean, yeah, Canada's funny with handguns for sure.
And if you're going through customs before you catch the connecting flight, make sure you have plenty of time, like minimum
Yeah.
of 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, oh yeah, definitely. I mean, another destination to transit before entering the country would be probably New York, right?
Oh,
It seems like a good idea.
There you go.
Oh yeah, well,
Is that Jeff there cackling or what?
yeah,
Jeff
yeah,
and Josh.
Oh, you guys got the
Yeah.
whole crew there in the house?
people. Yeah, yeah. Josh May is up there, and like everyone's up there.
A
We
little
got a
sad.
big house, like 3 stories high. Like it's an old Quebec, like old house.
Mhm.
Like it smells like church, actually. It's like for sure it's haunted, like for sure. But it's nice. It's dope. Like
All right, guys, you feel like doing a couple questions?
Of course.
absolutely.
All right, we'll sign you up. All right, for people learning or with shit memories, what are some techniques to quickly and accurately memorize and visualize a stage? Quickly
Funny
and
'cause-
accurately memorize or visualize a stage. This
Well-
feels like a question for Hwanzik, but that's just because he's
Yep.
smart.
Oh, I have a good answer. Should I fire it up?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, I don't know how many people took my class, but in my class, I tell people about this. The more plus minus you do, the first time you do, you have to, use your fingers, and then the more you do, it becomes automatic. You don't really have to, like, you just look at the numbers and plus minus sign, and you can come up with it right away. So memorizing and basically coming up with a strategy for your stage, it becomes faster and faster as you use your brain more and more. So if you shot competitively, I'm not talking about just shoot every weekend, no training. If you shot competitively for like 10 years, you probably don't have much problem memorizing and coming up with, good strategy. However, you can make it fast by using it more and practicing that more, basically in your practice. So even if you are doing one single draw, do a walkthrough run or visualization, people say. I categorize two different visualizations. So first one is physical visualization, which is basically a walkthrough, basically being on the spot, looking at the spot, or touching your beaver tail, or touching your magazine, and your reload motion, this physical motion, physical sensation, touching all that is physical visualization. And then the second one is mental visualization, which is, yes, like trying to memorize things. Either you're looking at a first person view or a third person view, it doesn't matter. Try that in your walkthrough. And then the first time you try, if you make a mistake in a specific spot, let's say you try to reload and the fumble reload happens, then just go back to that specific spot and then try to visualize in more detail. And then later try to find out, hey, there was too much detail. I'm making it too many steps, and try to like reduce the steps. For example, I'm trying to feel every single thing, but try to feel a couple things, reduce the steps, and then try to see what step is important to make that happening, like reload, for example. So you can, first thing you have to do is simplify what is really necessary to visualize, walk through. Do you have to really go full speed or slow motion, whatever, try different things, and then what works sticks with you. And then the second thing is, first time you try this, do a multiple reps, like visualizing, do a couple walkthrough, even if you're, drawing one and then two shots, 2 clicks in your dry fire, try to go through steps, just like a real match. Real match, you would touch the beaver tail and then bring it up to chest area and meet your hands and then, bring it out and like pull the finger kind of thing. Do a couple times until you are sure you memorized it. And then as you go into a couple weeks of training, reduce the amount, force yourself to do 3 visualization maximum, or 2 or 1. So eventually you're limiting yourself to memorize faster, and then also give yourself like a time limit too. If you try this, for example, position entry dry fire drill, if you give yourself 15 seconds and 3 reps visualization, then reduce that into like 5 seconds. Like all you gotta do is like, okay, one spot and go to the next spot. That's probably gonna take a 5 seconds, I don't know, 5-10 seconds. like limiting yourself to memorize fast, and then try to really focus what saw in your walkthrough and try to really execute it at 100% rate. That's basically training your mental. And there's one of the really world top shooter on an interview. He said he never shoots same thing over and over. He always changes things. So his way of doing is by memorizing and execute it, and then the next run will be completely different story. You have to shoot different array or different positions kind of thing. So as you change, you're actually training yourself to memorize faster and come up with the strategy faster kind of thing.
So basically, a lot of the new people, I mean, let me just distill this. So a lot of new people don't practice memorization at all. One of the things I like to do is, I mean, I just have so many dry fire targets up that the sequences you could pick are kind of unlimited. So I was like, memorize a sequence of targets, run over there, memorize the sequence, run over there, memorize the sequence or whatever. And there might be lots of targets up that don't get touched during, or some that I double engage. You know what I mean? I just pick something and I practice the memorization part at home. So then when you get to a match, it's not the only time that you practice memorizing a complicated target order. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
You actually do practice for the visualization part and the memorization, and that makes it much faster.
Yeah, because in our match we never shoot without walkthrough, we never shoot without memorizing it. But in practice, a lot of people miss that and just go through reps and reps and falls into like muscle memory kind of thing. That's not really good. That's not what we do at Met in our sport.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I can't imagine anybody has a whole lot to add to that. Sorry, Alex, what were you going to say?
No, but yeah, just like you were saying, like having like different bunch of targets in dry fire, you could do the same in live fire and impose yourself like 10 shooting positions and just like and a sequence. Like it doesn't make sense, but it will just you need to memorize it and execute it without hesitating or without mistakes. And then you run it once and then you change it up and you change it up, and like you're gonna get like super like fatigued from like trying to memorize so much. But after that, like you break it down to 4 positions, and all of a sudden, like 4 positions, 20 rounds, it becomes like super simple. And just you do more and more and more, and it's just like you get your brain used to just, oh yeah, I see like this 4 position long course. Yeah, no problem. Like it's easy to memorize. You don't have to walk it and for hours. And at some point, before going to World Shoot, I was imposing myself to go to club matches and see the stage from behind the fault line. And once I would go and walk the stage for the walkthrough, I would walk it once. And then I would walk it once, then I would pull back out to my range bag or whatever and just use my only walkthrough, and I would just visualize in my head the whole stage. And that helped me actually to just consider like you're just shooting one stage at a time. You're just focusing on that stage. That's the one I'm shooting. That's all that matters. I'm not thinking about the swinger on the next stage. I'm thinking about this one right now. And I just train myself to visualize in my head perfect first person view of the stage. And actually like now just I can go see the stages the day before, but it doesn't really matter. Like it just
you don't need it.
I don't need it. Like I'll need like the 4 minutes walkthrough, and that's it. But I mean, it takes, I guess, time and but you have to actually train for it for sure.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Park, do you have anything to add to that?
I was going to say what you had said, Ben. I do that a lot in dry fire, where I have unused targets and I'll memorize sequence, not using them all. And I think that's very beneficial because then you're just like trying to work on that ability. But yeah, what you said, you guys hit it out of the park.
Yeah, there's just so many. Most people just don't practice the visualization or the memorization. It's not hard, but you don't want your only time doing it to be at the match.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to get into the habit of whenever you move, you reload. Whenever you do something, you like, because doing reps and reps and reps without actually memorizing or visualizing something will do that. Like it will create bad habits. You want to work on one thing right now, a sequence, and you respect that. So you don't get into the habit of replicating something all the time.
Like trying to complete a magic, or trying to accomplish 1 second reload until it makes happen. You know what I mean? Like doing reps and reps, and you did a 1 second reload. Then like, oh, that's
yeah.
I
You
can
should
do that.
focus on the process of actually visualizing the reload from grabbing the mag to inserting and to like seeing everything.
Yep.
That's for sure. Not just pure luck and muscle memory. I guess, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, because that gives you cool videos, right?
They do. But no, actually, yeah, just yeah. I mean, reps is good to learn a skill, but then you need consistency. So, and that needs to be worked differently, I think.
Yeah. Well, you know what I say now, Joel.
Well, guys, it's been another Bang Up podcast.
Yeah.
Oh,
Listeners, if you have a question you'd like an answer to, go to my website. It's bensteger.com. Send me your questions. I'd love to hear from you.
No, it's gmjp.net.
That's false.
All right. Yeah. So what Joel said, there it is.
Boom.